Europe had many challenges in front of it. It was the illegal annexation of Crimea, it is the war in Ukraine, the economical crisis, the new crisis of the refugees. There are no obvious solution to all these problems. Can we say that Europe has reached a limit of its power?
Well, I think it's difficult to say whether it has reached a limit, but it is certainly being challenged in the harshest way with the refugee crisis. Already the Eurozone crisis was very divisive, and it's been interesting to see the way that Europe has divided on the Eurozone crisis between North and South, on the refugee crisis between West and East, and of course on Ukraine. It has, and I think that is very important to note, kept a strong unity with regard to sanctions towards Russia. I think Russia didn't expect that. I think both the transatlantic unity on the sanctions has been important to send a message that Russia's behavior has been unacceptable and that more will need to be done if sanctions are to be avoided. But everybody's asking the question, is this the end of Europe? I would say it is not the end of Europe. Europe will have difficulty to find solutions to especially the refugee crisis, because the whole issue of external border controls, of the management of refugees, and then the issue of receiving these numbers of people. On the flip side, of course, many countries have demographic problems, and this migration, which is not a new phenomenon. Europe has seen this before, but not of this magnitude over the past several decades, and that's why it is so big.
During the Yugoslavia war, you are Serbian, so you know very well the situation. There are also big waves of refugees, of course, comparing with the one coming from the Middle East, were a bit smaller. But Europe reacted differently. Do you think that the fact that the Muslims are coming is getting those reactions that we saw already from a lot of European countries, not so welcoming?
I think every country has reacted differently. Germany opened its arms. I've just come from Austria, where they're doing the same thing. Of course, they're a passage country, but still, there are about 5% who have stayed, and for Austria, it's about 1% of their population. About 80,000 have decided to stay in Austria. Obviously, the countries of post-communism have had a different reaction. I think it's been very unfortunate.
Not your country?
Not mine. I must say that I was very happy to see my government, my society, and my citizens respond in a very positive way. I think that's because of what you mentioned, that we had these waves of refugees, especially after 1995 in Croatia, the war there. We had 250,000 people arrive in Serbia in the span of 5 days. And I think people simply recognized a similar story and gave their hand to people from the East, whether they're Muslims or not. I think it's been very unfortunate that Hungary has decided to build this fence of razor wire, that other countries have said they will only receive Christians. I think this is unfortunately not at all in accordance with European values, which are those of democracy, tolerance, and the freedom of movement. Now, of course, there are limits because there are hundreds of thousands of people, but I think it's about managing those flows, and the reason that Germany temporarily suspended the Schengen Agreement was to manage that case. And lastly, in this brief response, I think everybody realizes we need to go to the root causes.